everyone, welcome to LexTalk World Talk Show presented by Clickaway Creators. Today we have Mr. Adrian Peyer with us. He is General Counsel, Legal Affairs and Operations at Zurich Insurance Company, Switzerland. Adrian is a trusted counselor on critical legal compliance, regulatory, governance, board secretariat, and risk management issues. Adrian is an expert in corporate governance and a strong leader experienced at organizational change and project management. Thank you so much for joining us, Adrian. We are pleased to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Adrian, so just to start with, if you can please brief us about your professional and personal background and your journey so far in the legal space, please.
Thank you. Happy to do that. So I'm a Swiss qualified lawyer. I started off my career at Arthur Andersen, so you can guess a bit also my age. For those who don't remember Arthur Andersen, it was one of the big 5 companies, now big 4s, and then joined Zurich Insurance Company already 18 years ago. So I've been with the company, in the legal department, had many different roles in the legal department, but mainly focused, as you mentioned, on corporate governance, on internal investigations, and I had the pleasure and honor also to be the company secretary of the Zurich Insurance Group for 6 years, and certainly got some insights and learnings from board management dynamics. So I would say always been a very interesting job, even though always in the legal department of my company.
All right, thank you so much for that quick brief. Moving ahead, and talking about COVID now, if I talk about the coronavirus, the pandemic which has hit the entire globe now, how it has impacted the insurance sector per se?
So I think, without going into all, the specifics here, but I think, as you have seen in the news, the insurance sector is certainly in the focus also of regulators, of people who had insurance coverage, and now discussions ongoing what is covered and what is excluded. So I think there are many ongoing initiatives that will clarify this. I think if you also look from a regulatory perspective, we certainly saw that regulators look at the solvency, at the liquidity of insurance companies as well, and I think you also see that there is discussion how can an insurance industry, how can you act and insure or not insure a pandemic that is globally with a huge impact on the global economy.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand, and you're absolutely right about this. So, continuing, if I talk about COVID, we have a lot of law firms these days who are kind of wondering how they can keep operating and without impacting the core business too much. So, what would you like to talk about that? How law firms can what they can do during the COVID-19?
I mean, if I give you some background on that, I think, looking at my role and the legal department's role in an insurance company during this crisis, we certainly saw, as an employer, there are so many questions that came up in connection with employment law, with working from home, tax laws, and so on, that I just felt, we have a decent department, are staffed to advise our colleagues. But, if you look at the impacted people from this crisis, they're mostly self-employed or employees who usually don't have access or don't, know how to get access to legal advice. Or cannot afford legal advice. So, from that perspective and these observations, I thought, that the law firms and the lawyers with the skill set of digesting the flood of regulation that were in every jurisdiction came out during this time now. We have the skill set to digest this and to advise, people who are impacted. I compare that to, let's say, a natural catastrophe where probably lawyers would have more difficulties with their skill set to really help people during a crisis. But this one here is different, and it really has an impact on with the regulation. And I think that's where the lawyer help. And from that, I started an initiative here in Switzerland and set up a webpage called Legal Solidarity. I reached out to different law firms here in Switzerland, seeing and asking whether they could set up, an easy entry point for providing free legal advice to people in need based on this Corona crisis. And I must say, it was like running in open doors. The law firms really saw that, first of all, some of them already provided some of these services, and others initiated now providing free legal advice. And in order for people to know how to get to these law firms, I set up this Legal Solidarity webpage where you can actually find all the law firms that support this initiative, and with a link to these law firms, and you can either send an email with your request, or some offer telephone free legal advice, but that's defined by each law firm. But I think given that this had a very positive, let's say, impact, but also echo in some of the, let's say, social media and media, I was also approached by, let's say, larger law firms, not only by Swiss law firms, and we have now set up a global legal solidarity webpage, where already 4 of the probably largest law firms globally, including the largest one, have signed up, and they really do provide in many jurisdictions across the globe free legal advice to people who are impacted by this Corona crisis. And I think that's something that I really appreciate, that we can offer this. And I think there is a need because many people don't understand how to deal, how to get certain support from the government in different jurisdictions, how to deal with their employees. There are many questions for small businesses on how to survive and how to get liquidity and so on. So I think that this really was something that now the lawyers and the law firms can really provide and make an impact, a positive impact during this crisis.
Absolutely, and this brings me to a thought that, so first of all, congratulations on making this move, and I think this is definitely what you're doing is in the need of the hour, and this is really a great cause that you're doing. So you are also pushing this into the right direction and helping a lot of individuals, a lot of people who are not aware of. Bringing a lot of law firms and some of the biggest law firms also is going to be a great help. And at the same time, I think this makes a lot of sense for, I also wanted to know if you're also planning to, make this initiative available to different countries, or you want to take it cross borders also. How are you doing that? And is there a plan on this?
Thank you for that. And I think that's the piece where, this Swiss, let's say, based approach, we now have taken on to a global legal solidarity, where these 4 major law firms who have already signed up, they're in pretty much, all the jurisdiction around the globe. And you do find a direct contact person, that is central within these law firms, and they make sure that, if you're based in in a jurisdiction that you get the local advice. So I think that, you know, should cover pretty much the globe with these law firms. And I do hope that people, you know, can take advantage of this free legal advice in that sense. So, and it's also great, you know, that we have this platform here to hopefully reach some of the people, but also, you know, to get other people to spread the word that this exists, and people should not be shy in contacting lawyers. I think there's always a natural kind of hurdle to overcome if you're not used to dealing with lawyers. There's always the question, well, are there hidden costs, or, you know, do I get 15 minutes of free legal advice and afterwards the clock starts ticking and I cannot afford that? I think, you know, there is clear transparency around this for each law firm, and I think that's the key, you know, about this. It's being simple, but it's also transparent, and it's not about you know, acquiring clients, anything in that sense. But it's really let's say a crisis that the law firms are happy to support, and they do have the resources for that.
Absolutely, and thank you so much. And I'm sure we definitely would like to partner you, and you know, we'll try our best to make sure that a lot of people can actually reach out to these law firms in times of need. And for our viewers, we will have the link available to this webpage available in the description below. Please reach out to the qualified lawyers, highly qualified lawyers, if in case you need some sort of support in your legal matters. Continuing with the next question here, Adrian. I would also like to talk about, since you are also working from home and a lot of us are doing this at the same time. So how do you keep the balance? And I'm sure this is something that we all want to learn.
That's a good question. And you see in the background, that's the Matterhorn. That reminds me of the beauty of, you know, the countryside of Switzerland and the hiking. So I think that's, for me, that's the key in that sense to, you know, balance the work with, you know, I wouldn't call it work life because work is life, but the being online and being offline. And that for me, it really helps to go outside, be it hiking, be it cycling or running, but also spending time with the family. And I think that's, you know, one of the positive aspects, I must say, from working from home. I got 4 relatively small kids, and you know, my family and wife here. I do get to spend, you know, the time I usually spend commuting in the car, you know, with my family, and you know, then you start questioning yourself. So why do you travel each day to Zurich by car instead of, you know, enjoying maybe breakfast or lunch with the kids when they come home from school? So, you know, this balancing is, I think it's also something that we discussed internally extensively, that we also, you know, make sure and ask people to log off, because you know, it's always easy to just, you know, check again your computer because it's probably somewhere close to, you know, where you walk by, and you think, oh, let's check again on work, or after dinner you just sit down again in front of the computer. So I think it requires quite a lot of discipline, and also, let's say, from a management perspective, I think you also need to respect that people are not always available, and don't make them feel, if they're not just, you know, answering a Teams call or a Zoom call immediately, giving them the feeling that they're not working. I think that's the danger that you have, that people feel they need to be in front of the computer all the time to show that they're working. And I think, you know, that has now come to a stage where I think that trust is really there. If you look back probably a couple of years, people would have said, well, you know, you can work from home a day or two, you know, but the rest you should be in the office. Just, you know, we're sure that you actually do your work. But I think that really has evaporated. I think people, you know, that trust into everyone giving their best is there, and I think that's also what is rewarding for the people, and also for myself, of course, that you can say, look, my company trusts me that I do my work regardless of where I am, and I do deliver, and that's certainly also a motivational factor in that entire setup that we're currently in. But I certainly, if I look a bit ahead, I would really hope that we're not just going back to the to where we were before, that the expectation is that everyone needs to be in the office 5-6 days a week, whatever it is, but that we get a good balance also on working from home and working in the office, and interacting on different channels, and certainly the physical or social part that is probably easier in an office environment where you do meet people physically. I think that certainly is something that is currently missing, even though you see each other maybe even more often. But I mean that coffee machine talk or water cooler talk is just something that you cannot replace, the spontaneous interaction. And I think that is what I certainly miss, but what I see also from my colleagues. That's the piece that is really missing in this setup.
No, absolutely. We being a company having our teams in different countries, we were kind of very scared of this work from home model initially, and we had no clue how to go about it. But we realized that when we allowed our employees to freely work from home and give them that freedom and trusted them on the job assigned, and if and the timetable that allotted, so we realized that people were more efficient because they had this balance in the mind that I have time to spend with my family. I will not have to spend hours commuting to office and coming back to home. Moving ahead, Adrian, I would also like to talk about, and this is a question where I'm focusing on the young legal professionals or the law students who are watching this video. So what would you like to talk about your 3 core values that you truly believed in?
I mean, just picking up on what I said before, trust is certainly one of, let's say, my core values, that I really do trust people. Even at the outset, it's something that I do believe that people deserve trust, and I think if you give them trust, they will reward this with be it motivation on work, but also in a private environment. I think that's certainly key. You can also say, I mean, if you look at the kids, if you give them trust, they also learn how to deal with this situation, and I think that's something that I really do try to also teach my kids. I think the other value I would really put up on that list is respect. That almost treat the people like you want it to be treated yourself. I think that's also a value I hold up, that I really do respect everyone, and I think that also leads into the value of diversity and inclusion, which currently is probably even more important than ever if you look around, let's say, the globe, but also what is happening now in the US, that we do need to value diversity and include everyone, and not go towards excluding certain minorities, and I think that for me is key going forward, that we do put a lot of emphasis on diversity and inclusion across all dimensions of diversity and inclusion.
All right, thank you so much. So here are those 3 values that you should also try and inculcate in your daily life. If you are a young legal professional or a law student and willing or dreaming about having a great, flourished career in the legal space. Thank you so much, Adrian, for sharing those great insights with us. And with this, we come to the end of this session, but we definitely look forward to having more chats with you in future. And we definitely will try our best to support the initiative that you've taken in any ways. I'm sure a lot of our viewers should also be able to help you by spreading that word in the public domains. Thank you so much for your time, Adrian. It was a pleasure speaking to you. For our viewers, if you like the content of this video, if you like the insight shared by Adrian, please like and share this video. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, ClickAway Creators, for having more coming from these industry leaders. Have a great day ahead. Thank you so much.